Welcome to The Good Life. Thank you for stopping by. I'm Patrick Hardy. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share, hit the notification button so you can be alerted when a new episode comes out. I have a wonderfully talented human being on this episode today, Melinda Bryce. She's an author, a screenplay writer, producer. She's worked in wardrobe. She's done like COVID compliance officer for films, and like she's all over the place. But she's incredibly talented, and we have an awesome conversation. She is here to talk about a new book that she co-created, and it is Bernie Mac's Daily Motivational. It's called I Don't Care If You Like Me, I Like Me. And this is the book. I talked about it, a little bit about it on the last episode. She was very kind enough to send me a copy, and this is awesome. So I'll let her talk more about it. But so we're going to do that. And then also, one thing I wanted to let all of you know, I will be no longer doing this show. I'm going to be doing something different, and myself and a couple friends of mine will be starting a podcast, and we're very excited. It'll be more of a Comedy Center podcast, and I'm excited to get going on that. So I've appreciated all the love and support that I have had with this show so far, and I mean, by the time I'm done with this, I think we'll have done like 69 or 70 episodes. That's a lot of episodes, you know, and I've had some wonderful people on, and I'm very blessed. So thank you all very much. And let's get into the episode with Melinda Bryce. All right, and we are live. Melinda, hello. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yes. So I wanted to have you on because you are would it be right to say the co-author?
I am the co-creator. I would say the co-creator.
Okay. Of the Bernie Mac's Daily Motivational, I Don't Care If You Like Me, I Like Me. And you were very kind enough to send me a copy of this book, and I have to say it is freaking awesome. And I'm not just saying that on air because you're here to talk about it. I genuinely mean it. I really do like it. And I do have a ton of questions about it. However, the first thing I wanted to ask you about with this is, how did you get involved with this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was working on another project, and through that I met my current business partner, Denise Jordan Walker, who used to be Bernie Mac's publicist. She was his publicist for about 10 years, right when he was crossing over and really, becoming a television and movie star, and all of that. And we really hit it off. She and I just hit it off. We just have same outlook on life, everything. And she was talking to me one day, and she said, Rhonda, Bernie's widow, has always wanted to do a book, but she's not exactly sure what, but she's always wanted to do a book. And it was like in that moment, in that conversation, I was like, I know what it has to be. And Denise was like, yes, it has to be this. And because he was so motivational, he was Uncle Bernie. Like I've had people come out and say, Uncle Bernie raised me, and he was, and he was just a really, really, I mean, I don't know anyone who would say anything bad about Bernie Mac. So, so that's how it kind of got started. I was introduced to Rhonda. We started talking, we started hashing some things out. And then we put together a couple of chapters in a proposal, and called up my literary agent. And he was like, this is gold. So, so that's kind of how it went. But lots of interviews with lots of, Bernie's family, with Rhonda, with, his old, crew that he worked with for the Midnight Mac show, talking to lots of people about Bernie Mac. And I mean, I just kind of taking a deep dive, watching every episode of the Bernie Mac show. And my business partner and I joke around because she was like, yeah, you've become Bernie Mac. Like the voice in my head was like Bernie Mac for like so long. It was so funny. But yeah, so it's been an absolute blast. And it's yeah. And then so in the course of that, Denise and I started our own company, Walker Bryce Creative. I have it on this is my brainstorming wall back here.
I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we started our own company, and yeah, kind of worked on a couple other projects together since then. So yeah, it's been an awesome ride.
Speaking of the voice, how in the world were you guys able to capture his voice so well?
I'm so glad you said that.
Because awesome. Literally when I was reading it, I can hear him in my head saying these words to me. And like, especially with something like this, did he, it's tough because like, how did you find what each day was going to be and what the topic was going to be? And like, did he journal or something where, you had something to pull from, or were you pulling from interviews and shows and all that stuff that he had done?
Kind of all of that. Pulling from, interviews with his wife and daughter. And, this was, it was a collaborative process with me and Denise and Rhonda. And obviously Rhonda is the titled author. And it really was, he said a lot of things. Obviously he didn't specifically say 365, things like that. But it was really just pulling from, interviews, like on, different talk shows, and, just kind of, I think just really getting a feel for who he was, what he would have said, how he would have delivered that advice, and literally just immersing myself in Bernie Mac. So watching, like I said, all the episodes of, the Bernie Mac show, every bit of stand-up I could find. I read his 2 previous books. And just, and as a writer, I think one of the things you do is you study people and you learn how to write them, right? So like when I'm writing a screenplay, I have to learn how to write the dialogue for different characters and make them sound different, So I think that really helped me when I was working on the content for this book, because when it came down to the writing of his voice and, those chunks of the book, that really came out from my experience writing screenplays and just really understanding how to write dialogue, because really it's dialogue. And if you listen to the audiobook the Reggie Reg, a comedian named Reggie Reg, he voiced the audiobook and he's phenomenal. But it really was not just recording an audiobook. It was a performance, because he becomes the voice of Bernie Mac. So he essentially was performing 8 hours a day for, I think it was 5 or 7 days to record this audiobook. Wow. So yeah. What
would be crazy that I just thought of?
What?
Did you ever see the documentary Val?
Yes, I loved it. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you hear shortly after that came out? Did you hear what there was a company? Was it called Son? No, not Sonos. There was a company. They were an audio engineering company that partnered with him, and he wrote this speech. And they used AI tech and recreated his voice, taking all of the dialogue from all of his movies, interviews, everything from when he was younger to even when he was a little bit older, and they created his voice again.
Wow.
How insane would that be to do that for this?
That would be so insane.
That'd be wild.
Because his voice is so distinct. I mean, people recognize it immediately. So that would be wild. Actually, that would be wild too for doing like a cartoon film or something, like an animated, like a Pixar. That would be amazing. Really bringing him back. But yeah, I mean, and that was part of the goal, is to really, we have a TikTok called Bernie Mac is Back. We have an Instagram called Bernie Mac is Back. Our goal was to like keep his legacy alive. Yeah. Because people love him still. So it was like, how can we do this in a way to like make it feel like he's right there still, you know, and book was the best way for now until we could maybe get something together to do like a, you know, Pixar animated film or, you know, something like that. But yeah. So
well, and
that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Well, what's great about these too is like one of the like it's not just comedy, you know what I mean? Like it's not just something that's comedic and it's like, oh, ha ha ha. Like it's actually good messages. Like there's one in here that says, when I say something, I mean it. It says, a man's only as good as his word. Now don't get all uppity on me, women folk. I was gonna say the same thing for you. A woman's only as good as her word too. But it goes, and it's not just like a quick one-liner. I mean, it's paragraphs of you know, explaining what that means exactly and why it's important. But then also, I mean, you got quotes in here from the King James Bible. You got, you know, Gandhi, like those types of it's the whole spectrum of people in here. But what's my favorite part is the part at the very bottom that says, do this today.
Yep. And I credit my partner Denise for those. That was her focus throughout this process. And she would really take the content of the page and be like, okay, this is the action item for today, for that day. So, because we didn't want people to, we wanted to, you know, you want to walk away with, okay, now what do I do? I know what you said. Now what do I do? You know, so yeah.
And I feel like that's always missed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's you know, people can be motivational and whatever. It's like, oh man, I feel inspired. Inspired to do what? Something, you know, like anything.
Right.
And what's really cool about this one is it says, go the whole day without saying one thing that you ain't 100% true, or that ain't 100% true. It's harder than you maybe think it is. Don't tell your girl she's looking sexy in that dress if you think it's looking like a moo-moo on her. or Mew Mew on her.
A moo, yeah.
If you manage that for one day, then you can level up and think about a time you didn't keep your word on something and then make it right. Like that's so cool.
Thank you.
I don't know. I just there's to me, there's not really anything like this, and I think that's the big selling point.
Thank you. Yeah,
and so
I appreciate that. No, yeah, I appreciate that. I think when the publishers that we ended up going with this book saw it, they were just the same way. They were like, what is this? You know? And we just wanted to come in there with something outside the box that was going to be accessible to people, to young people, to people who don't really read a lot, you know, who like, you can read it. Anybody can read a page a day, you know, one page.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And I actually come from a background in health and wellness writing. So, prior to this, I had written a lot in the health and wellness field. So I worked for about 5 years for a health and wellness, I guess you'd call him like a guru, Abel James, and he wrote The Wild Diet, and I helped with him on that. But over the course of those 5 years, a lot of the health and wellness podcasts and things were turning more toward mental health, you know, motivation, you know, just wellness in general, like a holistic approach. And so I learned a lot during that time about kind of what kind of advice to give and, you know, things like that. And I've also, I've written a lot in the health and wellness field, including, you know, mindful meditations for, you know, books about meditation and, you know, like just all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of interesting how that kind of all converged into being able to write this book, because my partner and I plowed through this. We got the entire book written in 2 months.
What?
Yeah.
I was going to ask how long the process was, but yikes, 2 months?
Yeah. We did it over COVID. It was over COVID lockdown.
Well, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean,
that helps.
You know, but, you know, interesting enough, the entertainment industry kind of kept chugging along during that time. Maybe not filming, but people were writing screenplays, people were collaborating, people were putting plans in place. And
Starting podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. I never stopped working during COVID. And so, and content, people wanted content. So it was an interesting time for me. But anyway, during COVID, so 2 months, because we really wanted it to come out for high school and college graduation time, and for Father's Day. So and the publishing process is arduous. So it's long. It takes a long time. There's a lot of editing. There's a lot of fact checking. There's a lot of, and then you have the, all the typesetting, the cover art, just all of that. And it does take a very long time. So I think from start to finish, from the time that we pitched this to my agent till the time it came out, I think it was about a year.
Wow.
I think it was about a year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing a daily motivational thing like this, is it safe to assume or to believe that you're kind of aiming for, like, there's an overall arc for the reader that you're trying to go for by the end of the 365 days? Or because with that, like, how are you deciding, okay, well, this should be day 2, this should be day 57, like, how do you decide that exactly?
Not really. There really was not.
Just throwing darts at a wall and that one will work for this day.
Right. Well, no, actually it's really interesting because my light keeps going in and out. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
For this particular one, we wanted people to be able to open up to the day they bought it or checked it out of the library, open up to, today, they picked it up today, they open up to, August 24th, and they start right there. We do recommend they read the opening to each chapter first, read the intro, read the opening to each of the 4 sections, and then start your actual pages on the day that you get it. So you're reading a page a day, and when you get to the end, you're starting at the beginning, and so there really couldn't be like a overarching, progression, because we don't know where you're starting, so
gotcha.
So it really was, there are certain things that we snuck in there, like, maybe on my anniversary, I had a special one, that to me, I would understand, or I know on I think it was my birthday, I had one that was, let's see, my birthday's May 7th. Yeah. So May 7th is, if I don't do it, it won't get done. And, that is something my dad said to me every day growing up.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of a special one for me, but
nice. That's cool.
So but there really is no overarching necessarily theme. Each of the sections are clumped together, with, this one's really going to be about personal development. And then, the one, everybody else, that's about relationships. The section, everybody else is about, the world and community and, your relationship to the broader, humanity. And then, somebody to you is your personal relationships, so, and then plenitude is the one that's, about money and success and, all that. So abundance. So, so they are clumped together like that, but no real major, like, overarching thing.
Yeah. Cause I wasn't sure if there was something where you wanted it to be like, by the time they're done reading it all, hopefully they will have gone from this point to this point in their life. And, still though, I like, seriously, this book is really cool. And,
thank you.
Now you don't just write or create, in terms of, you don't just work in, books or novels or anything like that. You are also a screenwriter.
I am. Yeah.
Amongst many things in the film industry.
Yeah, I am.
And it's funny because, like, we've never worked together, but we have so many mutual friends.
We do.
And everybody has always had nothing but nice things to say about you.
Aw, thank you. I appreciate that.
And so yeah, it's and the stuff that you write, like the films that you write or that you have a hand in at least, always seem to be at a different level than many others.
Thank you.
without trying to sounding like I'm digging on the others.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, but
Yeah.
So what to you, what's which do you prefer? Do you prefer working in the film space or
Yeah.
the novel space, I guess you could say?
Yeah. That's a really good question. They're so completely different.
Yeah.
The film screenwriting is awesome. I love writing screenplays. I can see them in my head while I'm writing them. I love it. The thing that's frustrating about film is you write a screenplay, you give it to the producer that you wrote it for, and you don't know what's going to happen with it at that point. So it's like I think it was Martin Scorsese that said you write one film, they film another, and they edit a third. So your vision could be completely different by the end. Whereas when you're writing novels and books like this, like the Bernie Mac book, you have a lot more control, and you're working with your editor, but your editor, you came in with a clear idea or they wouldn't have picked up the book. And your editor is just there to guide you and help you and make sure there's no major snafus or anything like that. So you have a lot more control in the publishing industry. But that's one thing I also love about the film industry is like you have this huge team of creatives too.
Yeah.
So if you're surrounding yourself with people that you see eye to eye with, people that have open communication and they really understand your vision and they're trying to make that happen, it's amazing. And so I can't say that I like one over the other. I think I appreciate going back and forth because book writing, literally when we were writing this book, no editor or anybody called us outside of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. When they said they want something quickly, they mean next week, not in 2 hours. Yeah. Right.
Jeez.
Right. Whereas with film, you're
what a luxury.
Exactly. So I think the pace of publishing, at least from the writer's perspective, is a little bit different. And I work on films and other aspects too. I mean, I got started in film because of my daughter, Kaden, being an actress. So I would go, she was a minor, so I would be on set with her constantly. And then kind of moved into screenplay writing actually from that, just from being in the film world. And now I do other things on set as well. Like I'm a COVID compliance officer. So that's been a interesting thing to do on sets. But obviously my favorite thing to do on set is to be there for, rewrites. Yeah. So, but I met so many awesome people through Michigan Film, like really, really great people. So I appreciate that.
So what did you always know you wanted to be a writer? And also to piggyback off of that, what drew you to, like you said, from being on sets and, you just got into screenplay writing, but what was it about that made you want to? Because you could be on set fine, but that doesn't necessarily make you want to become a screenwriter or a screenplay writer. So
Right.
how does that transition happen?
Yeah, exactly. Interestingly enough, since I always knew I wanted to be a writer since I was very young. I was writing poetry, and I have like books that I wrote, with a pencil and a notepad when I was in second grade, so I have all that. I didn't take that course right away. I did go, I was a creative writing major at Western before I transferred to OU. And then I was a straight English major with a business and marketing minor. and I don't regret that at all. Understanding stories is amazing. And then when I graduated, I became a Montessori teacher and administrator for a little while. Cause paycheck and and it was great. It was good. My family is in education. So that was great. And then I did that for a while, and then we moved back. We were living up north, and we moved back down here. And I had a baby and a toddler, and I was like, well, what am I going to do now? And then I was like, oh, I can do freelance writing. So I've been doing that since 19 years now. So I've strictly been a writer for 19 years. But as far as the screenplays, I can tell you exactly what happened. I would go on set with Caden, and I'd be there so long. I'd have my laptop and I'd be working on a project. And I remember I was on something. I can't remember what it was. And somebody asked me, what do you do? Oh, well, I'm a writer. Well, would you ever write a screenplay? Yeah. And so the first screenplay I ever wrote was for Angel Matheson, who I have remained friends with all this time. So she said, could you write a screenplay, do you think? And I'm like, sure. Yeah, absolutely. What do you want? Like, so, we powwowed, and I wrote my first screenplay, which was a short called Everything. And it was lovely, and it was produced, and it was great. And then from there, I just started having people contact me. So like, I just had people like, hey, I heard you write screenplays. I have, this. And so, it was definitely a learning curve as I learned more and more, about how to do it more professionally, and, this and that. And yeah, so I've worked with quite a few Michigan people now. The Crow just came out.
Yes.
Crow. Yeah. So
yes.
I wrote the original screenplay for that. Worked really closely with Justin.
And that's where I met you, by the way.
Yeah.
It was brief because I think everybody was rushing in to go see it. But yeah, that was fun. That was a really fun night. I couldn't believe how beautifully shot that film was.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it was a great turnout too. Like you guys knocked it out of the park.
It really was. And I credit all of that to Justin and his crew and Matt, and they nailed it. That for me was really I call it like a write and release project. So, I would write it, hand it over. Cause I don't know, at that time where I was in my life, I guess I wasn't able to be on sets and, like do all of that. So it was really just the screenplay, and here, take it and like roll with it. And they just really did. They did amazing. I mean, it really was such a passion project for Justin. For sure. I'm really proud of that and proud of that team. So yeah, that just came out. And then If Nothing Changes, which used to be called Millionaires Club, that is actually in the final phases of editing and should be coming out soon. So that's fun.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I had my holiday, A Holiday I Do with Paul and Alicia Schneider, was my LGBTQ holiday film. And that was filmed over the winter. So, and that should be premiering in December.
Cool.
So yeah. Nice. So it's been fun. I mean, it's been a ride, right? Like,
I guess. Jeez.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time though when you were on set with Kate and whatever, and you're sitting there and you're like looking at the script or listening to some of it, and you're just like, gosh, this is awful. I could definitely do this better.
Probably not, because I would always screen all the scripts first, and if it's bad, she didn't do it.
Nice. That's good. That's good.
But no, I really made an effort to separate myself from my career from Cadence. So like, never ever do I like expect her to get a role in a film that I wrote, unless that was part of the deal in talking with the producer, at the beginning. Or, never would she, like we just separate ourselves, especially now that she's an adult and I don't even go to set with her anymore. Yeah. It was kind of sad, but but super exciting. So So I mean, I'm definitely when scripts come in for her to audition, she definitely is like, here, mom, look at this, and One, if it's formatted incorrectly, no, it's a no.
Oh,
It's a no audition.
I can't stand that. Whenever an audition comes in, you look at it and it's just like typed up on a Google Doc or something. It's like, come on, man. Like,
Exactly.
but yeah, no, I get it. And that's
Yeah.
good. But that's awesome though, that like she has you to be able to bounce that off and, and kind of, because obviously you'll have her best interest in mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You got that.
Yeah.
What's been the most fulfilling experience for you, since you've, kind of taken the leap into this industry?
Oh my gosh. Wow. Fulfilling. I think really seeing a holiday I do come to life has been really remarkable, because I mean, first of all, it's just beautifully shot. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
when I saw, I've seen a rough cut, and I was just like, this looks like a Hallmark movie, or like a
Nice.
Netflix movie, like it was beautiful. But there were a lot of challenges because we were shooting during COVID. We were pushed back
Yeah.
the first time from COVID. It was we had a lot of LA. We had out of town talent from New York and LA. We had Marsha Warfield from Las Vegas. Lindsay Hicks and Rivka Reyes were both from LA. They were our two main leads. Jill Larson, who I absolutely adore. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie The Taking of Deborah Logan.
It sounds familiar.
The Taking of Deborah Logan is a horror film that she starred in.
Okay.
And she's an older actress, and it was one of my favorite films. So when Paul told me that they cast her in my holiday film screenplay, in our holiday film, I was like, you have got to be. And I don't ever fangirl or anything, but I was like, Jill Larson is gonna be in my movie. Like,
That's
it was
awesome.
so fun. But she was an absolute sweetheart. I think when I see that come onto the screen, I think that's going to be really amazing. But I think for me, the most fulfilling thing coming into film is the friendships that I've made. The people that I've met and that I've maintained friendships with have just been remarkable. I met Matt Santia through film, actually through Caden being in one of his films. And now he's one of my very best friends, and we're collaborating on a project, a passion project right now that I am so excited about.
Nice.
Matt Santia, and then another friend, another writer, Jennifer Gray Boutte. She it's based off of her life experiences growing up with a single mom who ran a motel in Inkster, in a very seedy part of town. But how it's just, her story is just amazing. And like, knowing her story, we're like, we have to base a film off of this. So that's what we're working on right now. So I'd say like those connections and those friendships, I think, have been the most fulfilling thing that I've gotten out of doing it. So
yeah, that's awesome. So how long has it been that you've been doing this now?
Screenplays?
In this industry here, the film industry.
So it's 2022 right now. I think 5 years.
Wow.
I think about 5 years. Yeah.
Tell you what, you've done really well for yourself in 5 years. There's some great projects. Seriously.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's fun, and I think, and people say it's it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, I mean, it's obviously a little bit of both, but it's not just who you know. It's like how you build that relationship with them. So I think as a writer, I'm a studier of human beings' behavior and relationships. And, you kind of have to really like people, or like at least like to study them and know them. And for me, it's all about connection, like not just connection, like, here's my card or here's my, QR code. But like, who are you? I want to know you, and I think that's really what has propelled my career here because I care about these projects and these people. And, that's one thing I always do too, is if I see a role pop up for an actor that I know, I will instantly just be like, here, like send them the audition notice. Like, you'd be great for this audition or, whatever. And I love doing that.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah.
Have you ever just gone to a mall and just people watched for inspiration for writing?
Yes, 100%.
Just sit there sipping on coffee, just watching people.
Yep. Coffee shops, anything. And it's like somebody gets in an argument with their partner and you're like listening. Like,
you lean over. Can you say that louder, please?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Right. Could you, what do you guys, what was that? Yeah. Just taking notes.
You just pull out a microphone or a recorder, just slowly slide it across the table.
Exactly. Yeah. It was funny. Matt Santia and I went to Cedar Point. The two of us went to Cedar Point. He scooped me up and we just went for the day. And I think we went on 3 rides, but we mostly just walked around and watched people because we're 2 writers, watching people all day. It was fantastic. It was awesome. And then
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Super cool. Yeah.
Now, was there ever a time in your life where you contemplated or thought about giving up writing completely? And what was it that helped you overcome that? Because clearly you haven't given it up. But has there ever been a time where you were like, you know what, I can't do this anymore, or I shouldn't do this anymore, or don't want to?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a time where I wanted to give up writing, but I think that this marketing part is the PR and the marketing part is exhausting. And, I want everybody to see every project I do and put it out to the world. But I think that part is the part that's like, man, I could go work somewhere and get a salary, and not, and just do the same thing every day and check out, but I think it's the part where you're like, okay, what time is it? What's the peak time for a TikTok post today? Okay. Did I download the video? And it's that part
it
of
sucks.
It
does.
Sucks. It totally sucks. It's so different, now than it was a long time ago. And I think for actors too, it's the same thing. They're having to engage in social media a lot. And so anyways, I think that's a part, but I overcame that because I always remember how much I love it, how much I love the actual writing part, how much I could not be myself without it. And I always think, I actually heard you say, I think it was your last podcast episode where you said, there's hills and valleys, just don't stay in the valley too long.
Yeah.
I think you said that.
Yes.
I hear that. And I have to remember, you can be in that valley for a few minutes and that's okay. Just chill, maybe I've gone for a while that I didn't write anything because I think as creatives, especially if we're super busy all at once for a while, we need to check out for a bit and reboot.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, preach.
Yeah. So I think during those times, what I typically do is just I love stories. So I just consume stories in whatever way, whether it's movies, TV series, novels. I'm a huge fan of the Moth podcast where they're telling stories, listening, having people over, talking, my friends happen to be incredible storytellers. So, have a dinner party, talk. Yeah. Because it's you're always absorbing new material and, but when I'm not specifically writing, I just kind of do it that way. I'm always a writer, I'm always going to absorb that, always a studier of stories and human nature, but just consuming, I'll just binge watch, A Handmaid's Tale or something, or Only Murders in the Building or whatever.
Oh, is that a good show?
I love it. I think it's really quirky.
That's the one with Steve Martin and Martin Short and
Martin
Selena
Short.
Gomez. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I love it. It's funny because I'm not really a good critic because I'm kind of I'll watch anything. I'll watch any like I really, I really will. And like as long as it's entertaining me, it's doing its job, right? As long as it's entertaining and I can like get into the story. If it's not a good story, that's hard to overcome. Like I'll turn it off. Like if but I can forgive like maybe some, bad special effects or like, some bad, something if that story is engaging. So yeah. So yeah, as far as overcoming, I think it's important to remember to go easy on yourself and to take that downtime and just like, I always love the quote or the saying that's the most successful people fail the most.
Yeah.
And I think that can get frustrating when you do something and it, like say I write a screenplay and it never comes out. They sometimes even shoot it and it never comes out. And that can be disappointing. But then you're like, okay, I learned something from that. I'm moving on. I learned how to, write this kind of character from that. Now I'm taking that into the next project. And I think it's always important to step back and say, because I always love like nothing happens to you, everything happens for you to learn something from. Yeah. So I always step back and say, okay, what did I learn? What did I learn? What can I carry into the next thing? And like maybe if I get burnt out on a really tight deadline for something, I had this novel that I used to do a lot of ghost writing and I don't really do that anymore. Like I'm kind of past that in my career, but I was making.
You're just tired of ghosts, right?
I'm tired of ghosts. I'm a little creeped out. No.
Yeah, you just want to write about something happy for once,
Right, exactly. Right. But yeah, I just kind of like got to the point in my career where I was like, okay, my name can be on whatever I'm doing, But anyways, I used to do a lot of ghostwriting and I had a ghostwriting project that they had ridiculous deadlines. Like I was writing a whole novel practically in 2 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah. It was insane. And these are like published on Kindle, like they're, they're making money because they're selling them for $2 a book or whatever. But I don't like anyways, I would get burned out on that. Yeah. And then I would have to say, okay, now the lesson I'm learning is I need to reassess what kind of jobs I'm taking. Is it worth the money to burn myself out for 2 weeks and like not see my family and risk my health and, all of that, so then I learned my lesson there and, moved on. It's really hard to turn away a good paycheck though in this industry.
Yeah, I know. And that's how they get you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh gosh. Or the whole thing of like, oh, well, the potential exposure that this could give you. Oh. Like, oh, wow, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
And then you get involved and you're like, oh gosh, how do I get out of this?
Yeah. And when they say like, oh yeah, exposure, that means you're not getting paid.
Exactly.
IMDb credit, that means you're not getting paid.
Oh gosh.
Exactly.
Or it says food and gas. Like, all right, piss off.
Exactly.
Food and gas doesn't pay my bills. Money pays my bills.
Right. And yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think there's a place for that stuff and there's a time for that stuff. And, the first few films that I wrote were, I wasn't, paid a massive amount, but that was me getting myself into the industry. So I think there's a time and there's a place for that. But then you get to a point where you're like, okay, unless this is my big passion project that, I'm putting out there and my producer friend is, partnering with, like other than that, like I don't do anything for free anymore.
Well, I think I think it's the biggest thing about that whole ideology and thought of, is managing expectations. If the expectations are managed properly, then you can get people to do stuff for little to nothing. You know what I mean? Sure. Like if you tell them, look, this is not a Marvel film. This is not some big studio thing. Okay. Right. This is small. And this is the plan that we have going forward with it. We believe it's a really good story, and this is what we are hoping that it will do.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we can give you for it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you good with that? But when people say, oh, we're going to take it to this and we're going to take it to this and it's going to do this and blah, 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 we'll pay you $125 a day. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. You want me to travel? Like
right.
it's
right. And they want you to post on your social media, and they want you to like get all your friends and family to come to the like, yeah, I get it.
And so and so it's one of those where it if the expectations are managed, fine,
right.
like for example, okay, and he had said this, and he still talks about this as if like he feels bad about it. Rob Holland, I'm calling you out, buddy.
I love
because I love you.
I love him.
But with Project Horror,
Mm-hmm.
he still feels bad that like he couldn't pay everybody what they like a what he wanted to pay them.
Sure.
But he still made sure that everybody got a little bit of something.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody had a problem with it because he was very clear from the beginning. This is my first film, and this is kind of the idea that I have. This is what I want to do. I can't do a lot, but I'd love for you to be a part of this. Are you willing to do this with me?
Mm-hmm.
And when you meet Rob, like, he's the sweetest guy in the world.
You have to do it.
Yeah. And so, and I'm so glad that I did it, because I'm really proud of the work that he put into it.
Yeah.
And
you should all be proud.
Everything. I mean, he did almost everything in post other than the music, but even some of that he
amazing.
did.
Amazing.
And so, yeah, it's so when the expectations are set for you from the very beginning and they don't change.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then I know, okay, I signed up for this. I wasn't bamboozled. I knew exactly what I'm signing up for.
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
And so then you have people where you don't have disgruntled people because things are changing halfway through, and people are being surprised,
right.
And I've had a few of those.
That's we've all had our learning experiences in the film industry, but that's a really good point, with the expectations and what you want out of it and what they're willing to give you. Caden just did a movie with a Wayne State crew. It was their thesis film. And someone reached out to her, I think it was the director, and was like, we really would like you to audition for this role. And, she was like, well, I don't really do student films anymore, but, send me the script, but they were like, they basically laid it out, they're like, this is a student film. We don't really have a budget, but we think you would be perfect for this. And so she got the script and it was really good. And so she and I had this conversation about, okay, do you want to do this? Because here's what you can expect out of it. These are a bunch of students around your age. Maybe you're going to have make some connections, and you're going to be able to act in this really cool, Euphoria style script in something that you've never done before. And so it will be a challenge, so we kind of went through all of the, her expectations for that. She ended up doing it and ended up just really vibing with this crew. They were super professional. Now we just found out they're all going to LA because the film got into Screamfest in LA. So it's awesome. A great surprise when that happens, right? But had they promised all that up front and be like, oh, it's going to do this and it's going to do that and it's going to do this for your career, no, there has to be some level of humility in that, And so you could, it's better to be pleasantly surprised than to have broken promises.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't like a lot of fluff. You know what I mean? No. I want you to be straight up with me, and I don't want your story to change with every conversation that we have,
Right.
And so, so yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome for her. That's really cool.
Yeah. It was cool. But it was one of those things where we had to weigh, okay, you're not expecting to go into this making, SAG rates, and you're not expected to go into this thinking this is going to be on Amazon or Netflix or, it's not going to do that for you,
Yeah.
but here's what it might do for you,
Yeah, exactly.
and so yeah, it's but life is kind of all about that. I mean, every decision you make is kind of all about, you know, weighing
Yeah.
your options and,
Well, it's a tough balance in this industry of, it's a tough balance between chasing the money and chasing the experience, because,
exactly.
you want to have the best experience that you can have, but you also got to pay your bills. So,
Yep.
and so if you can be lucky enough to, and be fortunate enough to be able to, do get both out of it,
Hmm.
great.
Hmm.
Um, there's a film that because you said you'll watch anything. This is a
I will.
very obscure film, but
Okay.
super, super good. I liked it. It's very dark.
Oh.
It's called I Melt with You.
Oh.
It came out in 2013, I believe. It's
Okay.
Thomas Jane, Rob Lowe, Jeremy Piven, and
Mm.
somebody else that I don't know his name.
Okay.
I didn't recognize him. It's a very dark movie. I saw it on Netflix. I don't know if it's still
I
there.
melt with
Yep,
you. Okay.
I melt with
I
you. But I'm interested in to see what you think of that story.
I will watch it. I will, because I actually love dark. My favorite genre is actually dark comedy. But I
Okay.
love dark. I love horror, psychological thrillers.
Hmm.
I absolutely love. So I melt with you. I will definitely put it on my watch list. I have I have a I just usually just add things to my IMDb watch list whenever I like,
Okay.
hear a good recommendation. And I get a lot of I listen to a podcast called Screen Drafts, and
Mm-mm.
it is remarkable. And basically what they do is they get a couple of guests on, and they have, it's sort of like this competition setting, but they rank the top 7 in that genre, right? So
Mm.
they all come to the table with their lists, but they talk in depth about these films, and a lot of them are pretty obscure. And I've watched some amazing films from like taking those recommendations and watch
That's
them,
really
because
cool.
yeah, because some of these more obscure films, people who are really into film will see them, but they
Yeah.
don't have a marketing budget. They don't have, they don't have a way to spread the word.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love to, so I melt with you. I'm writing it
And if you
down.
want, to see some really cool, creative cinematography, this is the film.
Okay. I love that. Okay.
I want to make sure that I'm out with you, that I'm getting that correct, because
Okay.
it's been a few years
Yeah.
since I saw it, but
I'm going to look it up.
it was okay, 2011. Yes, I Melt with You.
Okay.
It's an
Perfect.
American art house drama thriller directed by Mark Pellington.
Okay.
Um yeah, it says the film was met with mixed reviews but has since gained a cult following. So if that, I feel like those movies
Amazing.
always end up turning out really, like, really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's dark. I'll tell you,
Okay.
but believe it or not, there's a film that I started writing, and I put it down for a while because I like just lost it. So, and I do intend to finish it. Um, I know I know what the beginning and the end. It's just some of
Mhm.
the details in the middle. I know A
Yeah.
to Z. It's how to get there that I've
Yeah.
struggled with. But watching this movie, I was in a writer's block as to how I wanted to end it. Right.
Okay.
I watched this movie and I knew exactly.
Amazing.
Had nothing to do with the
Amazing.
movie, but
Right.
it was the way that, I don't know, there was something about it. And also I watched it at like 1 a.m. or like midnight,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
just like everything worked out. And
Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah.
Do you have intentions to produce the movie anytime
Yes.
soon? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Amazing.
maybe not soon, but
Okay.
because I've got some other projects that I'm producing on
Okay.
that I want to make sure to get done.
Yeah.
But this is a film that is very this will be my passion project.
Amazing.
And it's called Dr. Bird.
Dr.
And
Bird.
yep. And yeah, it's a very interesting story. Um but yeah, I will finish it,
Yeah.
and I will
Awesome.
produce it, and I will put it
Awesome.
out there at some
Awesome.
point.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question for you. When
Yes.
you start writing a screenplay, do you
Mhm.
like watch a whole bunch of films in that genre, or do you stay away from?
No, I stay away because I will
Really?
100% start to copy.
Oh,
100%. Yeah, I stay away. I
okay.
can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. Um, I started writing a comedy series. I'm 6 episodes in of an 8 episode first season.
Awesome.
And it's called Movie City, and it's about people that work in a movie theater, because I used to
Mhm.
work in a movie theater. I used to manage at one,
Uh-huh.
and the amount of stories that I have is unreal. And so every episode is about an event that took place that I was involved with. um However, uh there was, what was it, about halfway through, I think it was when I started up writing episode, or no, it was just before I started writing this. I had just watched The Office,
Oh,
and let me tell you, I sent the pilot to a few friends of mine, and they were like, is this just The Office without, and I was like, damn.
oh,
so
damn.
so I went in and I kind of reworked the structure of everything,
Mhm. Mhm.
and now I've got it to a place where I think I really like it. um
Awesome.
and it's pretty funny, I will say, because it's so obnoxious. Like
Yeah.
the first episode is about, uh it's about an active shooter training at the theater with the managers, and what happens with that. And
Oh, that's
uh
fascinating.
because we did that, and they would have, like, the guy that was teaching it to us, his business partner would come in at like 3/4 of the way through the presentation and act as though he was an active shooter, and we had to react the way that we were taught to react. Well, nobody reacted the way they were supposed
No.
to, except a couple people.
Oh,
Some
that's
people would just like
funny.
freeze and then just drop to the floor, or like other people would try climbing over the chairs rather than just like going down the aisle, and they'd trip and fall. And
That
um
is that is great,
so
and
yeah.
also so poignant for this
Yeah.
day and age, because I think one thing that's awesome about comedy is you can kind of diffuse
Yeah.
stressful topics. And I think that's fantastic. I think we need more of that. We need more laughter, more comedy, more of that.
Yeah.
So I think writing a TV series is so different from writing
It's
a film. Do you
very,
find that? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because everything has to be very tight.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It has to be, well, granted, okay, this is like the first TV series, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just imagining based on what I watch.
Yeah.
But it has to be very tight, and it has to be very, like, you have to get to the point quickly,
Right.
of each episode.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of the other episodes is about how corporate, the corporate for the movie theater, they want a training video. Each location or each theater is responsible for creating a training video on a certain topic, and the general manager, he's ahead of it, and so he like really gets into it, and like dresses up how he thinks a director would dress, and he starts bringing lamps from his house, thinking those are going to be his lights. And he goes out and buys this obnoxious camera on the company card.
Oh my God.
And it ends up, you end up finding out that he didn't even buy a memory card with it. So
Oh,
so so
that's
it's just like
great.
stupid, funny situational type
Yeah,
humor, but there's
I
always
love it.
heart. There's always heart in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
um
And that's one thing I think is super important. Like for me, um, you've got to resonate with the characters.
yeah.
There has to be that, even like the people who are, the bad characters, like you have to have some kind of connection to them.
Mhm.
They, and I think that a lot of times indie films will fall flat because I don't care about the characters,
Yeah.
and that heart that you mentioned, like that's so important to me. Like I just started watching a series on HBO Max called Somebody Somewhere, and I didn't recognize any of the talent.
Mhm.
Now I realize, I went on IMDb and the one woman has been in quite a few things. I just didn't recognize her,
Mm.
but it was really, it doesn't look like it had a very big budget. It's like, but these characters, I'm like, I instantly liked something about all of them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it was just like, oh, like like that could be my friend, you know, or
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
could be like the people that I grew up in my small town with, you know,
Yeah.
and so that's, I think is super important. I've also seen like films start out where something happens with, like, let's say the main character, but
Mhm.
I don't care enough about them yet. You
Yes.
know what I mean? So I feel like sometimes they just kind of, either that happens in editing or wherever it's happening.
Yeah.
Um, we need to care about that main character before, like, they're going through their, you know, their
100%.
situation. So I think sometimes that can get a little turned around, but
100%.
yeah.
Actually, perfect that you said that. There was an episode. So back when I was co-hosting Attack on Show with Rob, we talked about a show called Alice in Borderlands, and similar kind of style to Squid Game. Alice in Borderlands
Yeah.
actually came out first,
Oh,
and um, there were these three main characters, right, that you start the show off with, and then episode like 2 or 3, like all of them died.
what?
Or I'm sorry, there was 4 characters, 3 of them died. And then
Did
there was one character that just continued on, and there was all these new characters. I was like, what? I'm out. I was like, no,
that
I can't do it. It
that's
was
crazy.
it was so weird to me because I was like, you didn't even give me time to invest in these characters,
Yeah.
and then you tried to make their death all like, oh, sorry, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the show,
Oh, that's
you're not missing anything. Um, but like they tried to make their deaths like all dramatic, and like it was some like it was Tony Stark, dying in Endgame or whatever. And it was like, I've only seen this character for like 2 hours worth
Yeah. Did it
in a
feel like
show.
they like lost their actors and they had to write them out or something?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's almost like they had a pilot and then they shot it and they're like, dang, this is really good. Let's continue this. And then they're like, you know what?
Yeah.
We should take this in a new direction. So let's
Yeah.
just wrap these guys up
Yeah.
real quick
Interesting.
and we'll go this way instead. That's kind
The
of how
o-
it felt.
That's weird. I think the only time in my personal writing I've seen that sort of work is I worked years ago. Gosh, it's got to be 10 years ago. I ghost wrote something for
Mhm.
someone, and these were the guidelines he gave me. None of the characters could have any redeeming qualities. Right. Right. This is so crazy. There had to be 13 short stories or chapters,
Okay.
and one character would carry over from chapter to next, but never throughout the whole thing. So A and B would be in first chapter, B and C in second, C and D in third, D and E
weird.
in fourth. Right. It was so crazy. But I remember finishing that. And I love writing horror, psychological thriller stuff. So it was like that.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, that's really cool. Like by the time I got to the end, I was like, oh, that's really cool. But like, it was obviously intentional. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, it
Yeah.
was like, obviously, it wasn't like an abrupt, and it was just weird. It was such an interesting experiment for me to write these characters that, how we just said, you have to care about the character,
Yeah.
but to write characters that you got engaged with and in that were just all bad,
Yeah.
in some way. It was
Yeah.
it was just really fascinating. But yeah, but I can see, like, I sometimes will watch movies now and go, oh, they must have done that because of production. Not because of like story, like I was saying, like, oh, did they lose their actors, or did they lose a
Yeah.
location, or did they
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
it's interesting how I watch films differently now.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Yeah, no. It's so hard for me to, and you can like my girlfriend can even attest to this, where there'll be times where I'll be watching it and I'll be like, "Oh, do you know why they did that? Did you see what just happened there? See, that actually wasn't there." And what they did, and I'll start because I also dive into the behind the scenes stuff a lot of the time, and I watch a lot of interviews and of how the process was and all that stuff. And she'll just kind of look at me and I'll be like, "Oh wait, the movie's still going. Okay, I'll shut up. I'll tell you after."
That's funny.
But yeah. So
It is true.
um so what's next for you?
What's next for me? Well, right now well, obviously we're still promoting the book.
Mhm.
Right now I am writing on a project with Angel Matheson, actually coming full circle.
Mhm.
Um, that, we were hired to come on and write. I can't say much, that stupid
That's
NDA
okay.
thing.
That's okay. That's all right.
But it's
Meanwhile, there's
it's
somebody with a blow dart behind the camera,
right,
just like,
right,
say something,
right.
I dare you.
Say it. But that has been interesting because I will say it's outside of my typical genre.
Okay.
Um, the producer wanted to hire female writers specifically
Okay.
in a kind of a male dominated genre.
Okay.
Um, and
It's an action
I,
movie.
it is not,
Ah, that was my fourth guess.
right. But it was one of those times where I did dive into watching movie after movie of this genre, just to really, because it's not a genre that I typically watch. I cannot wait to tell everyone.
Yeah.
But it's been a really awesome process, because the other thing that I've written with people before who came to me with a story,
Hmm.
but I've never written with a writing partner before this.
Oh yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Where like you're writing, they're writing, like we're both working in the same document, like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and that has been a really awesome experience. Like I really am
That's cool.
thriving, and Angel's a wonderful person to write with. And so we've been really enjoying that. So that's what I'm doing right now. And then the motel movie with Matt and Jennifer. So that's kind of, and then with we have a few things brewing with Walker Bryce Creative. More in, I can't say too much about either of those either, but we're always like in, I do have we do have through Walker Bryce Creative, we are going to put out our first Kindle Direct book, which
Ah.
is just kind of an experiment in that publishing format.
Hmm.
Because I'm hearing like amazing things about it now.
Yeah.
And it used to not be that way, but now I'm hearing like from people who actually own publishing companies, like, no, Kindle Direct is great. So
Nice.
so that is called what's the title of it? 50, I can't remember the title of it now. It's like 52 stupidly simple meditations with poorly drawn illustrations.
That's awesome.
So actually Caden illustrating it, and it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And but digging deep into my background in health and wellness, and Denise too is a very spiritual person, and meditates and all of that stuff. And so we're like, what could we do? Like, what could we dive in and do, like a $2 Kindle book?
Hmm.
And this is what we came up with. And it has real, like the Bernie Mac book, it has real information about meditation and how it, how to meditate and how it affects
Yeah.
your life and your body. And then it also has like these ridiculously funny like illustrations. And I showed it to my husband, who meditates for he gets up at 5 a.m. every day and meditates for an hour. And
Whoa.
I showed it to him, and he was cracking up, and he's
That's
like, this is
awesome.
really good. So look for that. We'll probably be putting that out on Kindle Direct like in the next like 6 weeks or somewhere around there. But the other thing I'm working on, I love, and I have to make sure I put a plug in for this.
Okay.
I'm working,
And that's all the time we've got today.
Okay,
I
yeah.
appreciate you being here, but
I just couldn't leave it without talking
yeah.
about I'm working with a drag queen named Monique Madison.
Hmm.
I call her Momo. And we have been working on a crime thriller called Serial Showgirl, with a drag queen as a central character. That is the drag queen is on a mission to enact vigilante justice against basically a rapist and other rapists. But the interesting thing is that, I think a lot of people think of drag queens as a comedy, or like a drag queen that's going to be like a biographical story. But this is a thriller, a real crime thriller, and it really dives into the psyche of a drag queen, and sort of like the duplicity of being a drag queen, and of growing up in a small town in rural Michigan, realizing when you're, 5 and 6 years old that you like to wear your mom's clothes and, like things like that. Like, so it really kind of takes this deep dive. And I am so excited about this book.
Nice.
So Monique Madison has become a dear friend, and we have
So it's going to be a book.
It is absolutely a book, and we
Okay.
hope a movie at some point, because I
Cool.
think it would make a great movie. But it's been really fun doing a crime thriller. I've never written a crime thriller novel,
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
it has been super fun, and the manuscript is done. And we're just deciding, we were going to go Kindle Direct, but then we actually had my agent was like, hold on, like, hold on. Just give me like a week. So
Yeah.
we're kind of putting that on pause, but we're super excited about that. So that's I think that's all.
Man, you got a lot going on.
I
Jeez,
do.
that's awesome.
I think people, don't, I think one thing people say you have a lot going on. This is my full-time job. So
Yeah.
I'm constantly looking for the next project, and,
For sure.
doing it, because I am absolutely blessed after doing this for 20 years that writing is my full-time job. So
Yeah.
Now
that one film that
always
you
working.
can't, I know you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
But you said you watched a lot of movies and research and everything like
Mhm.
that for it. What was your favorite film that you watched out of all those?
Yeah. Okay. I see. Yeah, I see where you're going.
Dang.
Good try.
That was
Good
smooth though,
try.
right?
That was really smooth. That was really, really smooth. Yeah, it's like, it's hard because I don't really know how much I can say. But I did watch Westworld. So,
All right.
anyway.
No, that's all I needed to know.
Really? Okay.
No, the wheels are turning.
Right. So no, that's been an absolute, I think whenever you partner with someone that you have a good relationship with, that you work well with, and then whenever you're with a production company, producer that is super professional but also very passionate, it's like you found gold.
For sure.
So I think that's been that process, and we're actually doing the first draft read through tomorrow. So I'm
Nice.
super excited about that. Yeah. So lots of things going on. It's always really busy, but I'm always looking for, that next thing, that next fix.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And you have to in this business.
Yeah.
Well, hey, before we get going, I always like to do a little segment called The Goods.
Okay.
And I'd like to kind of pick the brain a little bit,
Sure.
and see what we come up with. So, shall we?
Sure. Go for it.
Number 1, favorite movie of all time.
Pulp Fiction.
Oh man, that's a great movie. Number 2, biggest pet peeve.
Bad grammar.
Oh. All right. I was trying to think of a bad grammatical whatever thing, but I panicked. I froze.
It's mostly written, so you're good.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind conversational.
So then the whole description of the episode, I'll just make sure to put commas in the wrong places and use
your
there and there.
Do.
Just use them all different. Okay.
Please do.
Place that you would like to visit the least.
The least.
Where you wouldn't want to go. You just don't want to go there.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. You stumped me on that one. I don't want to go. I'm pretty open to going just about anywhere. Where I don't want to go. Let me think. This isn't like I really don't want to go there, but if it was an option of hey, let's go to DC. I don't, that's never been been a thing that I wanted to do.
I could agree with that.
Maybe that, other
Maybe
than that, like
there, North Korea, I'm sure would probably be a
yeah,
bummer.
I mean, yes, of course.
Kidding.
Yeah,
No, I'm
I
kidding.
guess I wasn't really thinking about that.
No,
But
I'm
yeah,
kidding. I'm
no,
kidding.
that was a good question though.
See,
Now I'm gonna
everybody,
have to think about that.
exactly. Everybody always expects like, oh, what place you'd like to go the most, but what about the
Right.
least? Where do you not want
Yeah.
to go? I
Where
don't
do
want to go
I?
here, but no
Yeah,
desire to go there. You know.
yeah.
All right.
That's a really good question. Now I'm gonna be thinking about that all night.
Mhm. And then finally, how do you stay centered?
How do I stay centered? I walk. That's
Mm.
one thing. I try to walk 10,000 steps a day. That's like
Nice.
to me exercise and meditation. How else? I think really for me it's my family, my
Mhm.
friends and my family, and just having that time with them. We try to eat dinner together every day.
Nice.
I think my family really brings me back to where I need to be. So I guess I would say that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much, and I'm
Same.
glad we got to do this.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you so much, Patrick. It's been a joy.
Yes. So where can people find I Don't Care If You Like Me, I Like Me?
They can find it on Amazon. It's actually they're running a discount right now for kind of like back to college. Yep, find it on Amazon. Can find it at on Target website, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, and like a ton of independent bookstores. So yep, that's everywhere. Yep. And
Yeah,
then
it is.
yep, it's everywhere. And you can follow it and kind of follow the progress and follow us we're on Instagram at Walker Bryce Creative LLC, Facebook Walker Bryce Creative LLC, Twitter, and then Bernie Mac is back on Instagram and TikTok, actually. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter with Bernie Mac is back. So
awesome. Well,
yeah.
Thank you very much for
Amazing.
being here. And
Thank you.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank
too.
you so much. So yes, everybody
Thank
go
you.
get this book, check it out. Check out all of the films that she's working on, and just make sure to keep in touch with what she's doing, because you're awesome. You're so nice and so
Thank you
kind
so
and fun,
much.
and you're very talented, by the way. So
Thank you so much, Patrick. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you.
well, thank you. All right, that's all we got. Thank you very much for listening, for watching. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we will see you next week.